Hey, beautiful soul. We are doing something just for funsies today. We are taking an old episode from the podcast and refurbishing. Why did I think the word refurbish? Redoing it, kind of, editing it, adding a visual aspect to put it on YouTube now. Since we just recently started putting the podcast on YouTube, I didn't have a visual component for this. So I re listened to the episode again with the actual body graph of MGK up on Zoom so that you guys now can listen to this with a video component and see what parts of his chart we're talking about. It was really fun listening back to this because I haven't, I guess, looked at his chart again since that. And every time I do, I'm like, oh, he just feels like such a fun person. But it was also fun listening back into the things that me personally I was going through or just making decisions on. And I want to update that I did get the hand tattoo. So fuck everyone else. And I'm continuing to just lean into who I am naturally and letting that be me as it shines through. So I hope you enjoy this. I am going to be doing some more celebrity chart readings because the universe has been guiding me into that path, which is just blowing my mind because I was like, no. But here we are. So we're going to kick it off with re-listening or adding the video component of MGK's chart here for you to dive into. So like I mentioned in the episode, if you have any specific celebrities that you want me to look into or just highly influential people in general, like maybe let's do like Tony Robbins or something. Ooh, this would be fun. Let's do Tony Robbins. Whoever it is that you want, shoot it over my way. And I know that you're going to enjoy this and maybe even start listening to his music a little bit after. Let me know what you think. All right, I'll see you soon. Welcome to the No BS Human Design Podcast. I'm Adriana Keefe, human design coach and motivational speaker. I went through my quarter life crisis in my 20s and had to learn how to navigate through finding what I was meant to be doing with my life. I refused to believe in the culture that said we were all meant to have the same path and boring careers until we retire and die. And along my journey, I found human design, a system that reveals your energetic blueprint, showing you where and how to access your body's consciousness and how to live as your true self. Human design changed my life, so I started sharing it with others and changing their lives, but we were all finding the same problem: a lack of resources that explain the system in easy and useful ways. So I created this show where we dive deep into the lessons of the human design system without the BS and the noise you find on the internet. Listen in for lessons in human design, finding your purpose, manifestation and spiritual practices, human design within business, and so much more. We connect with other experts in the human design and spiritual realm in a refreshingly honest way to help you find your way along your spiritual path and live this life with intention. It's time to let go of the societal expectations of being and let yourself find abundance through being uniquely you. Let's get started. Hey, beautiful. Welcome back to the No BS Human Design Podcast. I am so amped up about what I'm about to do because I never saw me doing this on this podcast. But as a true manifesting generator, I follow my curiosities, and most of the time they lead me to something I totally didn't expect, but light me up, like full on light up my sacral. And I just have so much fun with it, so much flow with it, that it honestly, it doesn't even matter what the outcome of this is. I'm just having so much fun with it that I decided to share it on the podcast. So let me give you a little backstory. My husband recently became friends with my daughter's father from preschool, which is interesting because it's usually me becoming friends with the mom and then saying, hey, Tim, you should really make a friend and get to know her significant other. But this time it was kind of roles reversed. They hit it off and they've been going to concerts and doing fun shit together. And apparently one night when my husband was at their house, him and his wife mentioned that she, the wife, really wanted to go to a Machine Gun Kelly concert, but none of her friends would go with her. Apparently nobody was interested in his music. And they thought up of the idea of asking me because naturally my husband, Tim, shout out to you, boo, thank you for this, was like, you have to ask my wife. Like she just loves concerts. She's always about music, and naturally I'm a good fucking time, right? So he comes home and he says that they wanted to know if I would go to this Machine Gun Kelly concert with her. And I'm not going to say her name because I don't have permission to talk about her here. So I'll just, hopefully this isn't confusing. And my gut response, that immediate sacral reaction was, yes, I love concerts. I didn't honestly know Machine Gun Kelly's music besides the mainstream stuff. And I was a little confused. I was like, isn't he a rapper? Like, I didn't really see her being into, into rap. And then I naturally got in my head with like, well, I don't know her. What if she didn't really want me to tag along? What if this is all Tim and her husband's kind of idea and she was not into just bringing some random new friend along to this concert? So I did get into my head, and I had to come back to that sacral response and step out of the comfort zone and say yes to going to a concert with someone that I've never actually really spent time with. But I just know that I love concerts and I love making new friends and all of that, right? So I had to get out of the mind, out of the head, back into my body. This was a gut yes for me. I totally want to freaking do this. And then over a day or so, my emotions were still very much, I want to do this. I would love to make a new friend. I love going to concerts. So hell yeah, I'm in. So we went to this concert last week. I don't know when this will air, so it'll probably be a month out from now. And I listened to some of his music ahead of time, and I was like, oh, he's actually hit up like the pop punk scene. And that is so my jam. I mean, I grew up on pop punk. I mean, I just went to see Jimmy Eat World before that. And I was also thinking about Jim Adkins' chart and researching that after that concert. And that it was just so fitting for me. I mean, naturally, this is my kind of music. So I was pumped. And we go to the concert. We have a blast. I get to learn more about Machine Gun Kelly because my friend is a real fan and shared so much of his life with me, and that he had a documentary and all of this stuff. And I truly enjoyed the concert. I honestly love everything he's making. I love all the things he's doing, what he's about, how he's representing this culture of being unique and different and really letting yourself shine through. And I came home. Naturally, I looked up his human design chart, of course. And then I watched his documentary called Life in Pink. It's on Hulu if you want to take a little look-see. And I was just hooked. I was like, oh my God, I have to like do a full rundown of his chart. There's been a lot of pain, a lot of suffering that came, not even just since stardom, but even before that. A lot of stuff he's gone through in his life that you're starting to see how all of everything he's gone through has actually helped his success in life. And he's still, I'm sure it's still really tricky right now. And he's still got a lot of shit he's working through. I mean, he's young. I think he's younger than me, 32 or something like that, if I remember right. So this was a lot of fun for me. So if you're so here for listening to some celebrity stuff, this is typically not my jam. I don't do anything celebrity gossip. Like, I find out the latest news on my Alexa in my kitchen, and most of that I'm just like, okay, this is like swipe back to music because I don't care about this. So this is just really interesting to me that I'm so excited to dive into a celebrity's chart. I'll do more of these if you guys like it. And I have to really feel a connection with the person as well. It's tricky when you're doing a reading like this because the majority of celebrities really have to put on a mask, right? So I can see something in their chart that's totally different from how they appear to be. But with Machine Gun Kelly, his name is Colson Baker, by the way. Yeah, I learned that last week too. He just seemed so himself, like so much so that people hated him, right? And that's kind of like a red flag of, hey, this person is actually being authentic to themselves because people seem to hate you for it. And he's very ahead of the times, very himself, and the world still simply isn't as ready for that as it needs to be. But this is evolution and astrology and everything else. We're seeing that we're moving into a time of individuality where it's cool to be unique. And so, yes, he's still having a lot of those people who are resisting and pushing against, but he has such a massive, like, respectful following of the people who do appreciate that individuality. And I'm sure that he's like saving lives through his work and through his depth and everything that's come up through his music and mental health and all of that and sobriety. And in his chart, the first thing that you can see is he has a lot of individual circuitry, which means that he's really here to be fully authentically himself and to put himself and his what he needs as an individual first, and the rest will follow. And it's been really interesting watching his documentary because you see how he went from like no tattoos, just what seems like a few short years ago, to being covered to tattoos and piercings and unique clothing and all of that. And so he's really embraced his individuality. And I think that's been a massive part of his success. But general rundown of his chart, he is a projector with splenic authority. So as a projector, you're a natural guide, leader. You're really gifted at seeing through the aura of another person and being able to guide them and lead them and just naturally knowing how to help them. That being said, projectors they don't have that defined sacral energy that a generator type does. So they don't have that battery that keeps them going all the time. So in my head, it made total sense. I mean, yes, also he's in the music industry, but why he was into drugs but because, it's hard. It burns you out, that lifestyle, never mind being a projector where you're designed to really rest a lot and work in small spurts, like 2 to 3 hour spurts. But in the music industry, I mean, they're going for like days at a time if they're feeling that inspiration and a lot of overnights, and that can really exhaust you. So I'm, just outward opinion, I guess, saying maybe starting the drugs was a little bit of that mixed with obviously the judgment of everything else. But he has since been sober, according to his documentary, which is fantastic. And he has the splenic authority, which is intuition, intuitive insights, following your intuition. Your authority is the way you're designed to make decisions. And it feels like a lot of what's interesting about intuition is a lot of the times it doesn't make sense, right? It feels so out of left field. So much so that people struggle to follow it. And this is where a lot of people get stuck in not finding that alignment and not finding the right actions to take or places to be because they're resisting that intuition. And so in his documentary, he talks about the silence of COVID and how clarity really came through in that time. And he really wanted to just try this new style of music for him. And that was his intuition. That was like a full-on pivot, and nobody saw that coming. A lot of people didn't like it, but when you do have a splenic authority, or when you're really trying to hone in on your intuition and connect to it, the first thing I'm going to tell you is to be in stillness, and COVID gave him that stillness. So what I'm seeing is the stillness of being separated and on his own, and or with a limited number of people with not a lot of places to go or things to do. His intuition was really able to like get at him, to talk to him and help him understand that like the next step for him that would be a really great outlet for him is this punk culture, this pop punk music, and most people didn't see that coming. I don't know if anyone saw that coming. But it's epic. I mean, if you haven't listened to his latest stuff, you might not be into pop punk, but it's some great music that like you can rock out to, and I freaking love it. So his profile, he has a 1-3 profile, and that third line is called the martyr, but in his case, he actually really is appearing to be a martyr because, like, I don't love using that term, but he's gotten a lot of shit for the things that he's doing and the person he is. And so in my eyes, he is a bit of a martyr for the rest of us who really want to be that individual, really want to be that unique. But a line 3, what it's really about is this trial and error. It's the taking messy action. It's the doing things and falling on your face, getting back up, doing something again. And there's going to be a lot of failures, but a lot of success. And he started with rap, and eventually he was like, what if I tried this punk music thing? People told him it wouldn't work. He said that in his documentary, but He just naturally has the energy of someone who has to fulfill the experiment for himself in order to feel whole. And it worked out for him because he was guided by intuition. I'm just going to guess. I don't have anything stating that, but I'm going to guess he was guided by intuition. And his line 3 was like, I have to try this or I won't be able to sleep at night. And he's literally paving the way through this line 3, through this martyrdom, if you will, for us who want to show up differently, who are different, but maybe we're afraid of judgment. Even when it comes to getting tattoos or piercings, in the past, I've definitely fallen into that fear of judgment with how many piercings I had. I had like 20 something piercings at one point, getting more tattoos, all of that. And recently, now that I finally have my body back after 3 kids, pregnancy, breastfeeding, I am so feeling that urge to express myself and my creativity more through tattoos again. And I really am feeling called to doing a tattoo on my hand. And the first thing my mind went to was, what are my in-laws going to think of this? Not so much my family. I mean, a little bit my family, but I kind of don't give as much of a shit with my family. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But with my in-laws, I was very much in my head about like what they would think of me and all of that. And I am working to let that go because I am someone who feels that I would like to get a lot more tattoos and express myself through that artwork. And I honestly, as I am right now, I have 4 tattoos. I don't have as many piercings because a lot of my dermals fell out. And why the hell would you get more dermals when you have like toddlers? Gonna rip them right back out. But I do feel this sense of I'm not complete in this skin yet. And I do feel as though it's because I know I've always wanted more tattoos and more ways of expressing myself outwardly without even having to speak. And so for that, for me right now, it's coming through as tattoos. So I just love that piece about him, that he is tattooed and pierced and everything probably has a significance to him on his body. All right, up next, we're going to take a look at his centers and his gates. He does have an open head and open ajna, so lots of inspiration and insights and taking in new opinions, not being too super fixed on his own set of opinions. It's literally like being open-minded. And then in the head center, he has a gate, which a gate is like an energetic gift, like a trait of yours, if you will. And he has the gate 61. And this is where your unique insights really inspire and empower others, which then in turn empowers you. And I feel like that's a ton of what he's done through his music. I'm not so much, I don't know about his acting. I actually have never seen him act in anything, I don't think. So for this, I'm mainly speaking to his music. But this 61 is a gate that's known for inner knowing, like letting your inner knowing shine through in the right timing. And I'm going to pivot back to changing the genre of his music. I think he was really guided through that spleen, through that 61. It had to come through at the right time. And then in the ajna, he has the gate 11. And this is like, you're the ideas person. You're like forever thinking of new ideas and keeping things fresh and wanting to keep things evolving all the time. They can be easy to let go of things that don't feel relevant anymore. And I'm not saying he's completely let go of the rap culture. I don't think he has or ever will. I mean, who knows really on the outside, but I think at that moment in time, he was like, this doesn't feel as relevant to me as this new genre does, as this new way of showing up does. So it's been really fascinating to put these pieces together, knowing his recent transition of his style of music. And then moving down the body graph, he has definition in his throat. So he has a consistent way of being through this center, consistent energy from here. And he has a really cool throat center. I know that's like the nerdiest thing you've ever fucking heard. I get it. But his gate 31, all right, let me back up. He has gates 31 and 33, both of which align to the channels So I'll start with gate 31. This is the gate of influence. It's someone who is a highly influential person. There's like an authority in their voice that's kind of hard to ignore. They convey this sense of leadership that others feel safe in relying on. And if you're someone who hates Machine Gun Kelly, obviously you're not going to get this. But you're also probably not listening if you hate Machine Gun Kelly. Or you shouldn't be, or you should admit that you like him. Just gonna leave that there. But those who vibe with him look up to him that way. They feel safe and they feel like he's a leader for what it is that they see in him. They're just naturally gifted and guiding and directing and expressing themselves as someone who understands exactly what needs to happen. And then the others tend to follow. And the other side of this is the gate 7. So the 31-7 is called the channel of the alpha, and it's a leadership channel. But it is in his design, not in his personality. So it's more of the unconscious side of him than the conscious. It's more of it'll turn on more in certain situations or shine through more in certain situations. So he may not have felt he was a leader. He actually might not even see that now, but it's naturally showing up. It's naturally like the people who follow him see him as a leader for this change, for this individuality, for all of that he is expressing himself as. And then gate 33, also on the throat center, is the gate of retreat. And this was also really fascinating to see because it's a natural storytelling gate. So it really, you experience a lot of stuff, and it can happen so thick and so fast that you feel like you have to pull back and like just to breathe, like just to retreat from time to time. And the purpose of this gate is for you to have all those experiences and then pull back, retreat, and kind of work through your experiences to then present them as stories that are reflective and guiding to others. If you know anything about his music or have seen his documentary, everything, I swear to God, it's like every word he writes comes from an actual story in his life, something that has happened. They're all about experiences he's had. And then when he was able to retreat in COVID, it's like this turned back on and brought this to life again because he was able to slow down and go over all these experiences in his head and everything that was happening to him during COVID and all of that. It just kind of sparked these experiences and what he could make of them and how he could tell the story in his music to reflect on them, to guide other people. And this is one that he also has the full channel on. So it does reach out to the adjacent gate and it creates its own energy. And this 3313 is called the channel of the prodigal. He's literally created to pass on his individual experiences to other people, to teach others what not to do, and to teach through his experiences. And I just love that. I love all of this about him. The leadership, the channel of the prodigal, like the individualistic part. I mean, not part. It's like this whole chart is individualistic. And it's him just moving through life best he can and experiencing it and then reflecting on it and telling it to others through his music. It's really cool. I'm actually having a lot of fun doing these celebrity chart readings for how expressive he is and all of that. Moving down to the G center, which is also known as the self center. He has gate 1, which I also have, and it's one of my favorite gates in me, I should say. So I definitely love this in him. And it's the gate of self-expression. So he's here to be creative and to attract attention. He has this powerful drive to find, know, and express his direction in life. He needs to be seen and heard, and having that energy about him really inspires other people. It's a creative energy that comes and goes, but when he's working alone, fully immersed in his creativity, without the thought of a specific goal and just like in the creativity, again, going back to COVID when he was alone probably a lot of the time or without a ton of other people around, he was just immersed in his creativity. And maybe that'll be his best album that he's ever put out. I know he's had multiple number ones, but at the end of his career, I'm so curious to see if that is if he feels that's the best album he's ever put out, and if the world feels that's the best album he's ever put out. So then he also has, let's see, we're looking at Gate 2 in the G Center. I also have this one, so also biased to thinking this is really cool. And Gate 2 is the gate of direction or receptivity, depending on where you're looking at it. And it's a gate of higher knowing. This is where the magnetic monopole in every human body resides. And he has this turned on all the time. And so it's like having this innate sense of direction, just like guiding you on your path, and then knowing what needs to change and how you need to evolve. It's a very receptive and adaptable gate, always seeming to know what paths to follow. It's a very interesting thing to experience. As myself having this gate, I can tell you, anyone who's ever worked with me, heard me say, I've always seen myself on stages as a child, and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't even know what friggin' human design was. But now I'm actually doing it, and it lights my soul on fire. My gate 2 has always had this higher knowing, this vision of what I'd be doing, even if I couldn't make sense of the how. All right, let's see. Where do we want to move on to next? Oh, he also has the 15 in his G Center, the gate of humanity. And throughout the rest of his chart, I'm going to just preface with this. I think he's a very caring individual. Maybe why he cared so deeply and felt so deeply when he was shunned by people. I mean, he's literally had people throw things at him on stage, like out of anger and to hurt him, and brutal stuff, man. But when I'm looking at there's some more things in this chart, like the gate of nourishing, but the gate of humanity, like I think he's a very caring individual. I would say that he cares deeply about those he loves and cares about shit, like just has a lot of the feels as far as that. So the gate of humanity is viewing humanity as all interconnected. It's like a true humanitarian. They can easily win the respect and admiration of others, and just really having a love of interaction with humans. I'm sure in his darkest days, he didn't feel that. But when he does feel connected and aligned and fulfilled, he thrives on human interaction and really has a love of bringing everyone together, Moving down to, let's go to the heart center. So he has an open heart, fully open, which I do as well. So I can relate to this very much in my own experience. Self-worth issues definitely arise here. I saw this for him in his documentary where he was trying to force things so hard to get to his album to number 1 to prove himself. And he says it in the documentary. He was trying to prove that this album would be just as good as the last one because people always said it was luck that his other album hit number 1 for the first time he did punk music. And I've definitely fallen into that forcing to get to a certain place to prove my worth. And that shows up it's so prevalent in his documentary, having to prove his worth. And that's what we can fall into with that open heart center and feeling like we need to be or have or do a certain thing in order to be worthy of everyone's love, of ourselves, all of that. So I thought that was interesting. He had a fully open heart center as well. He does have an open sacral center. Again, he's a projector. So I would not be surprised if he feels burned out often, or maybe he's had to really understand some better boundaries around rest and work. Probably why the rejuvenation of COVID, again, was so good for him, as uncomfortable as it probably felt for him to have nothing to do. But having an open sacral center, you can literally work yourself sick. So you want to be able to use this sacral energy wisely, especially as the projector that he is, and knowing that it's not this like unlimited source. I wouldn't be surprised if he has to rest often to find his real true creativity and his best self for work. He does have, like I mentioned, the gate of nourishing within the sacral center. And this is all about caring and providing. Like I would bet that he would drop everything to help and care for others, almost like to neglecting of himself sometimes. He has this, with the 27, it's a foundational need to take care of yourself first. You know, it's like putting the oxygen mask on first so you can actually take care of others, because I could definitely see him falling into the rut of putting everyone else first, so much so that he then is struggling. All right, let's move into the solar plexus. He has an open solar plexus. So in total, he has 5 centers open: the head, the ajna, the heart, the sacral, and the solar plexus. And this is all where moods are housed, right? So he's literally feeling and amplifying the emotions of other people and feels them more intensely within himself. So this can lead to feeling touchy, nervous, defensive, especially if he were ever around those people who were haters, you know, this like throwing shit up on stage. He must have felt some, I can't even imagine, like that's brutal. I feel awful for him having to go through that. But the beauty of having this open solar plexus is the ability to have really strong emotional empathy and to connect well with others through emotion. And so when his emotion can then be written as script and language into songs, he's connecting with others in that way as well. So even when he's not physically in your aura and feeling your emotions and reflecting it back to you, you can probably feel it through his music, because he feels everything so deeply. And that's probably why he's had such beautiful creativity and success through his music. He can really feel a lot of different feelings. He has the gate 36 in the solar plexus, and this is called the gate of crisis. So it drives you to transform through crisis. It doesn't mean that your life is literally a crisis all the time, but it means transformation through painful and sometimes confusing experiences. Having to cope with that, to learn to transform through vulnerability and create the emotional growth necessary to move through emotions and express them. And this is one of the places that his energy can help other people grow through their emotions from their own experiences. So really, he's going to have a lot of those painful, confusing experiences, but that's because he's designed to learn to transform through them. And this is a part of his journey, his life transformation, his evolution. Let's see, what else is pertinent here? I feel like we're done with the solar plexus as far as what I know about him goes. So we'll hop over. Let's see. He does have a defined spleen. Again, that splenic authority, that intuition being turned on. And he has another channel that I have, the 2838. It's called the channel of struggle. It definitely does not sit well with you the first time you hear it, but I promise you it doesn't mean that your life is a forever ending, never ending fucking struggle. It means that you're designed to struggle to find meaning in life, to feel purposeful. Like you're a fighter. That's what it means. Like you'll never stop working to fill that sense of purpose until you have it. And then if you fall out of it, you work, you struggle, you fight to find it again. So it's this desire and longing for meaning in life and for purpose. It doesn't mean that your life is always going to be a struggle. I associate it with the word fighter. That feels really good to me, which interestingly enough has been a tattoo I've always wanted to get since I was like a teenager. Like I used to write fighter, sometimes in Spanish, sometimes in English, on my body in permanent marker to see what it would look like as a tattoo. I still don't have that tattoo, but I'm feeling a little reinvigorated to maybe get it sometime soon somewhere on my body. All right, let's move into the root center. So he, as a projector, he doesn't have the motor centers defined except for the root. His root pressure, he actually has a lot of activation in here and activity going on in his root. So I would guess that he gets a lot of his drive and energy from this root center, from the root pressure. So he's considered an energy projector. But it's about needing to learn your energy and know when enough is enough. Because again, you don't have that sacral center to give you that, okay, my energy is depleted now, let's move on. I no longer have the energy for this. So you can get lost with this root pressure in being, in not letting go of using your energy, not knowing when enough is enough. But the root is designed when you have it, sorry, my words, I'm like tripping over my words now. Defined, there we go. When you have it defined, you're someone who's designed to operate well under pressure and under stress. And that makes a lot of sense to me, especially when you think about having album release timelines and having to come up with some new music or some new lyrics or whatever it is, the pressure to be number one. He actually operates really well under that. And I would bet that this is a lot of where he stems all of his energy and drive from. He has within here 52, which is the gate of stillness. And this is about the pressure to focus and concentrate. Really having an unparalleled view of things, and a very, like there's this, they talk about it like being the stillness of a mountain, bringing in this focused, concentrated energy that brings in a great perspective. Oh God, all of that. I can see all of that playing a role in music, the concentrating, whenever I hear about an artist writing a song in a couple hours or overnight and like, it's just perfect the way it is. I'm just like, Jesus, how did you do that? Like, I guess I just don't have that kind of creativity, but it makes sense why he's able to do things like that. And then he has gate 19, the gate of approach. I associate this with a specific lyric I heard in his song. I can't remember what song it was. Okay, well, the lyric was, I'm mad at the world because I feel the rejection, something like that. And this gate 19 carries a desire to be wanted and like a need to be needed, because you have this strong pressure for togetherness, collaboration. Oh, I just put that together too. Maybe that's why he's had so many songs that were collaborations. Companionship and relationships, like these are key for success in his world. This means his needs around relationships and emotions and appreciation need to be met in order to find alignment. So the pressure from here makes you desire to be included in everything. And any sense of separation really bothers you. So when I heard that lyric, I'm mad at the world because I feel the rejection, I was like, damn, that is hitting gate 19. I feel like that is definitely a place of that pressure that he's felt when he wrote that. He has gate 54, which is the gate of ambition. Again, root pressure, drive. He has a blind ambition that can almost leave him like head down, running for some unseen and distant goal. But he has this drive to succeed in all areas of his life, professionally, socially, spiritually. Sometimes you can bite off more than you can chew. But with this gate, you are capable of defying the odds. That blind ambition can just get you where you want to go in life. The gate 38, we touched on that though, because that's a gate of part of the channel of struggle. That's the gate of the fighter. Again, this word fighter coming up. And it's this determination that causes you to want to take on the world. You tend to challenge the authority for the common good. That's me, right? I know if you know me, that is me. Always ready to fight for what I believe in, for what I believe my purpose is in, right? The downside, you can be argumentative because you, again, are always up for a fight, which can be off-putting at times. And it's a very stubborn gate. I should have mentioned at the beginning, he's a Taurus like me. And so Taurus are known as stubborn, right? And there's a big piece of that 38 that I don't know everything about astrology, but I would bet that 38 is a common Taurus thing because this gate only wants to hear what it wants to hear. It's a stubborn gate. So really the biggest challenge for this gate is figuring out what struggles, what things are worth fighting for, and then letting go of what's not. Lastly, we'll wrap this up here. He has 58 in his root, which is the gate of joyous vitality. I also have this. I have this in a massive part of my chart, actually. It's a big piece of my life. And it's actually exactly what it sounds like. You are someone who's filled with pure vitality. And the more you share it, the more that comes to you. He, I'm guessing, has this trust in life and the experiences that come with it and is like so here to experience life. And that feeling is contagious. It's like having this spark that ignites everyone around you. This insatiable appetite to have it all and savor it all. Just such pure vitality for life. And being a celebrator of life, really. So I bet it would be really cool to spend even an hour in his presence when he is in alignment and feeling fulfilled, because he would probably make you feel like you're on top of the world and be very caring about it at the same time, right? Like he's such a nurturer and a carer, and he really wants to bring together community and celebrate life. And I think these are the pieces that a lot of society doesn't yet see in him, because they either shun him for his individuality or they don't like that style of music, so they don't care to know who he is. It's important to remember that he's still a human. And I obviously have no idea what his day-to-day looks like right now. I hope that he has kind of fallen back into alignment with a lot of the stuff he's gone through, because clearly he's been in it multiple times in his life. I mean, he's seen massive success and almost like cult-like fans. Not really in a bad way, I hope. I don't think. But because he's just so standing in his purpose and in his individual nature and bringing unique and authentic magic, I think, to this world. It would be so cool to be in his presence for even just a little while and to feel that within him and to see how it brings it out in you. I'm really excited to see how the rest of his life unfolds and what he does. I hope he trusts his intuition and makes the right decisions and stays in that path of alignment, in that trust of intuition and spirituality. I know I could tell from seeing him on stage, even knowing nothing about him, I could tell he had a sense of spirituality. He has a song called Twin Flame for Megan Fox, and he had the lunar phases on his guitar strap. Like, these things I notice, and these are little pieces that I believe he is someone who is spiritual and has a sense of there's something else out here, and I connect to it, and I use that to strengthen my intuition. This has been really fun. I've had a lot of joy and fun in reading his chart and getting to know him in that way, especially through everything I've seen him go through. And if you guys want to do some more of this, let me know. Like I said, I will probably do it a little bit more for the people that I really resonate with. If you have requests, send them in to me. If I feel like it's a good fit, if I feel like their energy and their chart is something I can work with. Like I said, again, it's difficult because you never know what mask they're putting on as a celebrity, because they have to show up a certain way for the record label or whatever it is. So it can be tricky, but I will definitely take all of those into consideration and see who I can work with and who's vibing with what I know about them and bring them onto the podcast for you. So I hope this was helpful in navigating your own shit, but also just a little bit of fun to have with human design. Please remember, no matter what point in your life you are in, that you are always safe, you are always held. Trust fall into this shit, and you will be so heavily rewarded, it'll blow your mind. I love you so much. Thanks so much for being here. I'll talk to you soon.